We're continuing to discuss workers' compensation this week with Catherine Stone of Barbas Law, who's going to be breaking down maximum medical improvement in our Know Your Rights to help you out there. This is kind of we are going in an order. We're going chronologically here when people are off the job but getting those worker comp benefits, right?
Correct, yes. So basically the series that we've been doing is I basically said, okay, what happens from the beginning of the case all the way up to the end, and we'll get there at some point. But last time we kind of touched on your temporary disability benefits. There were two classifications, TTD and TPD is what we call them, temporary total and temporary partial, and that those would end once your doctors placed you at maximum medical improvement. And what maximum medical improvement under the workers' comp statute means is basically, in layman's terms, you're as good as you're going to get. You may not be 100% the way you were before you were injured, but the doctors are basically saying, we have exhausted all treatment options for you at this point, and any treatment thereafter would be what we call palliative, which means it's just to keep you at the same stage that you are. It's not going to make any improvements.
So this is a permanent stage we're talking about.
Maximum medical improvement is a very big deal because it stops those temporary benefits. Now, there's two ways that MMI can arise. The doctors, all of your doctors, we talked about last time, you could have multiple different doctors for multiple different body parts or injuries, and it has to be when all of the doctors place you at maximum medical improvement. We refer to it as MMI. Or under recent legislative changes that occurred a couple of years ago, there's a statutory maximum of temporary benefits that you can receive.
Automatically runs out in a way.
It used to be 2 years. It's extended now to 5 years. So in some instances, people will have injuries significant enough that they need to utilize that 5 years in order to continue to get treatment and hopefully help make them better. And I've got a number of clients that are well into or are fast approaching that 5-year mark. And what happens is if they are not at maximum medical improvement from a medical standpoint, their benefits automatically will terminate at the end of that 5 years. And it's 5 years from the date of your accident or 5 years worth total of benefits. So in other words, if there were gaps in time periods that you got paid, those gaps, they take it all together. Okay.
So I'm curious if this is a permanent, and when we were talking before, and if I have the question, maybe somebody out there at home is like, okay, that means you're good to go. And you're like, no, not necessarily.
Not necessarily, because whatever the restrictions are when you are at maximum medical improvement will then determine, okay, based upon your vocation and the type of job you were doing before, do you qualify for the next level, which is called permanent total disability.
Okay.
So you can't get to permanent total disability until you've reached MMI. And I just had this conversation with a client the other day who is fast approaching that 5-year mark, has already been accepted as disabled by Social Security, but couldn't understand why he was still getting temporary benefits from workers' comp. Because he says, you know, I'm never going back to work. I'm disabled. Why is my checks titled temporary? And so I had to explain, because he's not been placed at maximum medical improvement by his doctors.
Do the benefits change when you go from temporary to permanent, or I'm assuming it's probably case to case?
The ratios are set out for each classification, but if you're temporary total and you continue on as PTD, your rate would essentially be the same.
Interesting. Again, every time Catherine comes on, I'm always learning new things. I'm always seeing how this process works. But the thing that stays constant is if you have questions about workers' comp, Catherine Stone is the person you need to call. Go ahead and visit her website or give 800 Barbas Law a call anytime. And that website is barbaslaw.com/knowyourrights.